Hi guys, welcome to this beanie tutorial. Today you're going to need a yarn needle, some snips, a 6mm crochet hook and a 4 or a 4.5. It depends which one you have, but either one will work. So I'll just get these out of the way. Today I'm going to be using two thicknesses of yarn. This is a regular chunky yarn by Hayfield. It's called Bonus Chunky in the shade grey. Going to need at least half a skein of this, maybe a little more, depending on what hat size you're making. And the other one I'm using is by Yarn Fair. It's a double chunky yarn, so it is thicker than the grey one I'm using. Just bear that in mind. So I'll show you side by side. It's quite a lot thicker. It's 100% acrylic, 200 grams. Usual washing instructions: 30-degree medium wash. Don't tumble dry it, don't iron it. And with this one I'm going to be using a 6mm crochet hook. So let's get started, shall we? So I'm going to be using my 4.5 hook to start with, and the grey colour to start the brim. We are going to put a slip knot on our hook and chain 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and the last one makes 16. So we're going to put a single crochet. I am using American terms, even though I'm English, it's just how I learnt. So we are going to put a single crochet in the second loop from our hook, so not in this one, but in this one. So one single crochet, and one single crochet in each stitch until you get to the end. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So we have 15 single crochets. Then chain 1, turn, and then into the back loops only on this row, single crochets again. So it's right in there, if I can get that properly. So right in this very first one, single crochet, and a single crochet in the back loop only until you get the end again, and it's the same amount of stitches. So I'm not going to bore you to death and count, I'm just going to work. So every row is the same in regards to just working in back loops in single crochet, and that's our last one there. Chain 1, turn, and work into your back loops again. So I'm not going to do this row by row because everyone's pretty much a different size. So what we're going to do is we're going to carry on working like this until when you put it round your forehead and round your head, like where your hat would actually sit, that it's like an inch to 2 inches too small, because you want it to stretch around your head, so so it's a nice snug fit. So what I'll do is I will carry on working until I have my desired length, and I will be back. So I will see you in a few moments. Right, so on to the second part of the video. I've finished my rib, as you can see, and I have it so it measures 20 inches. Doesn't matter how many rows you've got at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it, and we are going to slip stitch into this very top stitch here, as you can see. I'll just pull that a little bit tighter, because what we're going to do now is we are going to fold this over so it doubles up, and we are going to put one single crochet row all the way across. And what this is going to do is it gives a really nice edge on here, and it just looks so nice. So what we're actually going to be working into is we are going to be working in between stitches and in the rows. So on this first one, I'm just going to go straight in here and straight into the corresponding stitch on the back, and I'm going to work a single crochet, and then it's in the space. So we're doing one in the middle and one at the top, through and through. You always want to make sure you're going into the right stitch on the front and the right stitch on the back, because otherwise it ends up looking a bit iffy. So make sure, yeah, you get the right one. Once you get a feel for it, it's not too bad. So I might as well just do these on camera, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And as you can see on the back side. Reason why you have to make sure you go through the right stitch is because it can start doing funny things like twisting around on itself, and we don't want that. Just takes a little getting used to. I will actually do this off camera, so I will be back after I've finished this part of my hat. Right, just coming up on my last stitch here, which lines up very nicely with the edge. So we have a double wide brim, so this is going to be our finishing edge, and this is going to be our working edge with the single crochet. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to slip stitch right into this first stitch here, and I'm going to flip my work over and kind of fold the brim in on itself, so it makes a complete circle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in to this back loop. I'll call it a back loop because ignore the two underneath ones. So I'm going to go in there with a slip stitch, and then into my next stitch, and into the next one on the other side, and we're just going to work like this until it's closed. Just means you don't really have to sew anything. You do have to make sure you go into the right stitch row, because otherwise it ends up looking crooked or lopsided. Right, so what I'm going to do now is, rather than cutting my yarn, I'm going to carry on working. Going to turn it inside out, so you have your two open sides facing. I'm going to put this inside, this little yarn tail, that's not going anywhere. And I'm just going to carry on closing up this gap. So just make sure you're going into the right stitches on the front and on the back. I'm going through both loops on each. Sorry if I keep going off camera, it's quite a small workspace I have today. Can be a little bit tricky to get these last couple of stitches in there, but just bear with. Take your time and everything should work out perfect. Right, last stitch. Even though I'm struggling with this. Actually, if it becomes too much of a bother, you don't have to get into that last stitch. What we're going to do, turn our work back the other way. Let's have a look, see which side looks better, because both sides should look the same. Yeah, I like this side, so I'm going to start working on that side. So I'm just going to chain one, turn, and then slip stitch into the back there. And then I'm just going to pull my yarn up and snip this off because I no longer need it. And that is basically our brim. Don't worry if this looks a bit iffy. Basically, on our first row of stitching, that will just disappear. Don't worry about it. So, on to the next part of the video. Right, on to the next part of the video. I'm switching on to my 6mm crochet hook and my kind of like gold mustard bulky yarn. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose a stitch somewhere near here, either just either side of it, and pop in your crochet hook, bring up a loop, chain one, and now we're just going to work one single crochet in each stitch. So you don't have to count these. This is just to get a nice solid foundation for the rest of our hat. And I think it just makes the edge, connection edge look a little bit nicer and a little bit tidier. So I'm just going to whiz on with these. And I will see you back here. Right, so I've nearly made it round and I'm to where this funny bit was here. So let's just do this bit with a bit of caution. Make sure your stitches are evenly spaced apart and that you're going through the front and the back. Sometimes you do have to manhandle your work just to punch through. And one through here, and now we're back at the beginning. So so this will be on the back of your hat, so you're not even going to notice that. Right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to slip stitch into this first single crochet even. We're going to chain one. And now what we're going to do is we are going to work 2 back post double crochets. Now, I am crocheting in American terms, so what I mean by double crochet, if you don't know, is yarn over, go through the back, through again, pull up a loop through. It is a bit tricky, especially going through these singles. So you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 1. And again, go back to front, pull up loop. So you've got 3, pull through, and pull through 2. And then we can do 3 front post. So we'll go from front to back and back out again, yarn over and do the same. So we're going to do 3. Well, that's our second, and this is our third. And then we're going to do 2 back post. So basically, all the way around, we are going to do 2 back post and 3 front post. So I will see you nearly at the end of this row. Depending on whether you land on odd stitches or even stitches will be a little different, but I'll tell you how to correct that as we go. Right, just coming up on the end of my first round. So I've got 2 stitches left here, but I only want to put in one last front post double crochet there. And then I want to move straight over with a slip stitch, a chain 1, and then around this this big cluster here, this is your chain 1 and your first back post in that round. I want to work a front post into this stitch. Oops, do that again, getting ahead of myself. So this is the front post, and this is where your pattern starts to offset itself. So you can see we only have 1 back post here, and before these 3 front posts, which is perfect. So put in 2 back post, so there's 2 back post, and now you do your 3 front post. So on each repetition or each round, what is going to happen is this pattern is going to shift over by 1. So you always end up with having to do 1 front post and a back post in your repetition here. It's how you can tell that your pattern's going right, to make a very wonderful kind of brick pattern, or similar to a herringbone. So I'm just doing the same, 3 front post and 2 back post in here. So I'm just going to carry on working in this way until I get to the end, and then I'll show you how we move up a row. Right, just coming up to the end of this round. So first of all, I need some more yarn. I should have done that first, but I always forget. Bear with me. Right, so I've just got 3 front posts here, and then I have 3 stitches left. So I'm going to do a back post, another back post. Sorry if you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm trying to be as descriptive as I can. And then this is the last stitch of the round. So I'm going to do a front post, continuing with our pattern, and then round this, it looks like a big mess, but you're not going to see it in the end. I'm going to do a front post round. Yeah, I'm going to ignore that chain now. Can do a front post round now, and then a front post round back post, and this is now our next round. So if you carry on working like this, you shouldn't have to do any more chain stitches or anything. That's pretty much set you up. So if you carry on working your pattern, since we've already offset it now with our first couple of rows, you shouldn't run into any problems. As long as you do your 3 front post to your 2 back post, shouldn't have any issues. and you can just carry on working around in a circle. You don't have to do any chains, you know, nothing like that until your hat's basically long enough for when you put it onto where you want it to be. You can just kind of like nip together the top with two fingers. You don't want it to pull too tight, but you also don't want it miles off the top of your head. It's just so when you so if you close it, you know, like this at the top, it kind of sandwiches together, and that's when you know it's long enough. So I will be back. I'm going to continue working, and I will be back after. I think it's going to get to about this long, and I'll be back. Right, now I've worked up enough rows, so I want to close at the top. And if you are looking at the back of your hat, this is where my seam is. And you want to fold it in half, so your seam's in the middle here. And then you're going to be working, finish working in this side. Like that. And then pop in a slip stitch just to finish that off, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into the next stitch, into the back loop only, and then we're going to turn our hat over. Hope you can, this shows up, and we're going to go into this first stitch here, which is one before where you are, and we're going to go into what would be the back loop of this stitch. So yeah, let's call it the inside loop because it's on the inside of our hat. So into that one. This first one is always a little tricky to get into because you're kind of like working backwards on yourself. So just trying to get, there we go. Sometimes it needs a little help, and then yarn over and pull through all these loops for a slip stitch. And then what we're going to do is we are going to pick up every back loop. So back loop here and the inside loop on the other side. And we're going to do a slip stitch in each stitch to close the top until we hit the other side. And when you hit the other side, your hat will be finished. So all there is to do is to sew in all your ends and enjoy. If any of you guys are on Instagram, you can follow me on there. My name on Instagram is Crochet Kyle. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Even though it is only a rough guide, it basically, you know, you can make these in any size. You can make them in any yarn weight. I think I will do another one of these, but in a DK. Yeah, just because. You know, they do look different in a double knit. I'll just do these on camera and whilst I'm talking. If anyone has any questions, you can leave me a comment underneath, or you can send me a message. I'll try to help you wherever I can. Yeah, so I don't really know what else to say. I'm just working on all my back loops. It is a fun hat though, is this? It's mega warm, mega chunky. The wind doesn't cut through it in winter, which is what you need in England. Work good in any colours, variegated yarns. Variegated yarns not so much because you can't always see this lovely pattern what we've just made. So plain yarns, yeah, I think they work nicer. But you can use it, you know, basically any what you fancy. So just coming up to the end, you can stretch it a little bit just to make it a bit more bearable to get into. Right, that's my last one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull through. There's another 2 loops here, but I'm not going to go into them with a slip stitch. I'll just go into those with my needle. And I've already wound my other ends in. So to get this hat height, I always recommend to keep trying it on, and when you can pinch it above, when it's on, if you can pinch it to your head and it's not too tight, then that's a good place to stop. Unless you want it a little looser and a bit longer, then add a couple of extra rows. But always make sure you finish on the side and not the back. Because you always want the your hat seam to be on the back of your head. Right, so I'm just going to go through these loops here to make life a little bit easier. And I'm just going to put in a couple of whip stitches across. You're not going to see them. And this is just going to get this end in there. If you have enough yarn, go all the way across rather than stopping in one place. Because then you're really not going to notice it if it's all the same look. And it just gives it a little extra strength on that seam rather than just a slip stitch. Nearly to this other side. Oops, let's just get in that stitch a bit better. There we go. And then I'm just going to kind of thread this underneath. Kind of like underneath and through a couple. I've pulled my yarn needle out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this tail, put it a little bit tight, not too tight, but just a little bit, because as soon as you cut this, that end is gonna disappear back inside there when you pull on it, and voila! Now when you put this hat on, grab the corners and just pull it out a little bit, and that's going to create your ears. You don't need to put any stitches here. I don't see the point if it's a big chunky hat. It just makes them naturally. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you give me a like and a share and subscribe to my channel. See ya!